In 2009, Hudson Soft released Calling for the Wii. The game initially received middling reviews and wasn't a show-stopping seller either, but it still gained a small but dedicated fanbase that extol its virtues to this day. But that wasn't all. It also came with its own terrifying and creepy mystery that, for a long time, baffled many. The game is played in first-person perspective and sees you playing as several characters drawn into the mystery of a website known as the Black Page. They get caught in the space between life and death and, while investigating, are often attacked by ghosts and forced to fight for their lives. Yet there's one ghost in particular in the game that remains a mystery. She is Akai Onna, or the Lady in Red. Unlike other ghosts, the Lady in Red doesn't show up until your second playthrough of Calling. And unlike other ghosts, there's zero explanation as to who she is and why she's there. The Lady in Red is a complete and utter mystery. Even the Japanese wiki for the game calls her an unknown woman with long black hair and a red dress, nicknamed the Lady in Red. She has nothing to do with the story, or Reiko. Reiko, spoiler alert, being the character who created the website that drives the game. If the Lady in Red has nothing to do with the game's story or characters, then why is she even there to begin with? For a long time she puzzled fans, and the mystery behind her helped drive new fans to the game. But first, let's take a closer look at what she does within it. The Lady in Red shows up during 9 scripted events during your second playthrough and onwards. It's easy to miss a lot of these, so you need to investigate areas well. In addition, she sends 6 letters to your Wii message board throughout the game. Yes, her influence extends past the game itself, and it's here that the secret behind her existence lies. One thing you may note during encounters with the Lady in Red is that the game's protagonists rarely react to her, and if they do, it's minimal. They may mutter or gasp, but that's about it. Their heart rate or health meter doesn't budge either, which it does with every other ghost. Almost as though they don't see her at all. Or if they do, they recognize that she's not harmful to them. Now, why would that be? The letters you receive from her to your Wii message board get creepier and creepier. After your first encounter with her, you'll receive a message that simply says, "Found you." They get progressively more stalkerish. "I was watching you today. Our eyes met. We'll always be together. I want to be with you forever." Finally, after running into her for the 9th and final time in-game, you'll receive another message. "I'm coming to see you." If you've opened all her letters by this point, you'll get another one that's full of nothing but eyes. Creepy. Then, if you return to the game's title screen, you'll be in for a nice surprise. After that, you'll receive one final letter. "We were finally able to meet." That's right. The Lady in Red's goal all along wasn't any of the characters in the game. It was you, the player. This is why the characters in-game rarely, if ever, react to her. It's why she's not mentioned in any game files, or referenced in any other way. Almost as though she doesn't exist within the game's story. Because she doesn't, not really. Her story is not with the game's characters, but with you, the player. And if you find all her encounters and read all her letters, it suddenly makes sense. She was haunting you all along. The developers have never directly spoken about why they included the Lady in Red, but it's clear that she's an interesting Easter egg to keep people playing and talking about the game. You can only find her from your second playthrough onwards, and there is zero information about who she is in-game. She seems to pop up at random, terrifying the player, but not necessarily the protagonist. Having the lady in red send you letters directly through the Wii message board was brilliant as well, an ingenious use of the technology on hand by the developers. So, who is the lady in red? A character designed to blur the lines between game and reality. When we play horror games, we may be afraid by what we see on the screen, but we don't necessarily fear for our own lives. We fear for the character we're playing as, not for ourselves. There's an invisible barrier protecting us from the horrors taking place in-game. They can't affect us. They're not real. The lady in red attempts to destroy that barrier, to bring that fear into our world, to help us experience the same fear as the protagonists in-game. You're no longer just watching. You're actively participating. And at the end of the day, isn't that the feeling most games strive to achieve? The lady in red is a unique storytelling device, a unique gameplay device, and there's no information about her in-game because why would there be? She's not a part of their story. She's a part of our story, sitting behind a controller and screaming at her on screen. She was after you, the player, all along. Copies of the game still go for relatively cheap compared to other Wii horror titles, so I recommend checking it out for yourself and inviting the lady in red into your home firsthand for the true, authentic experience. But that's all for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if there are any other mysteries or games that you'd like me to look into for the future. And I'll see you again next time.